There come moments in deep space exploration when the universe behaves exactly as our equations insist it must. When everything unfolds according to the laws we have carved into textbooks and repeated for generations. But then arrive the rare and silent moments. Moments that do not simply challenge physics, but seem to bend it, distort it, and whisper back in ways that feel almost intentional. And Voyager 1, the farthest human-made object in existence, has just experienced one of those moments. For nearly half a century, Voyager has been drifting farther and farther from home, slipping beyond the sun's magnetic breath, beyond the shield of the heliosphere, into a region so hostile, so cold, so saturated with cosmic radiation that no machine was ever meant to remain operational there. And yet against every expectation, Voyager continues to speak. But this time something spoke back. It wasn't noise. It wasn't static. It wasn't plasma wave interference or solar leftovers bleeding through the void. It was structured, patterned, responsive, a signal that behaved as if it were acknowledging Voyager's presence, or worse, examining it. If the universe were a vast ocean, Voyager would be a drifting message in a bottle. And what just happened out there feels like something or someone found a bottle, opened it, and started writing back. Tonight, we unravel the story of how a 45-year-old spacecraft held together by fading plutonium and ancient processors made contact with something that behaves like an advanced object, something far beyond the boundaries of our solar system, far beyond the predictions of physics, and far beyond anything NASA ever prepared for. And once you understand every step of Voyager's journey from Jupiter's storms, Saturn's rings, Uranus's tilt, Neptune's diamonds, and the interstellar void itself, you will realize why this new signal is not just strange, it is terrifying. Voyager 1 was never supposed to live this long. Its mission when it launched in 1977 was simple: reach Jupiter, reach Saturn, transmit data, take photographs, and then drift into irrelevance as its instruments shut down one by one. It was meant to be a visitor, not a survivor. But what happened next turned a quick planetary tour into the longest-running experiment in human history. With only 3.7-meter radio dishes, 16 hydrazine thrusters, and plutonium-fueled thermoelectric generators that lose power every year, Voyager 1 should have died decades ago. And yet there it is, 155 astronomical units from the sun, still alive, still speaking, still listening. Its 11 scientific instruments were designed for short-term planetary flybys, not eternal travel into the abyss, and most of them have already been switched off. But the few that remain continue to rewrite science. The spacecraft has no modern software, no AI, no stabilization systems like modern satellites. Its memory capacity is smaller than a digital photograph on your phone. But its endurance, its precision, and its uncanny ability to survive region after region of cosmic danger have made it the most unlikely ambassador humanity has ever sent. And now this ancient machine is more than just a probe. It is our eyes inside a region of space we were never supposed to reach. A region where even NASA admits we did not know what to expect, because nothing built by human hands had ever gone there. And that is exactly why this new anomalous signal is so alarming. Everything Voyager has learned so far, from Jupiter's storms to Saturn's moons to Neptune's winds to the structure of the Heliopause, has prepared us for surprises. But nothing prepared anyone for this. Voyager's first true confrontation with the unknown began at Jupiter, long before interstellar space, long before plasma waves and magnetic boundaries. What saw there shocked the scientific community. Storms the size of planets, lightning 10 times stronger than Earth's, volcanic eruptions on Io blasting material hundreds of kilometers into space, and radiation belts so violent that they nearly overwhelmed Voyager sensors. Jupiter didn't just reveal a dynamic world. It revealed instability, power, and phenomena that contradicted many predictions of the time. And hidden in that chaos, buried in the swirling storms and electromagnetic turbulence, were strange pulses, subtle, faint, almost impossible to detect, that did not match the rotation of Jupiter or the expected fluctuations of its magnetosphere. At the time, these anomalies were dismissed as noise artifacts or incomplete models. But today, knowing what we know about the new signal, many engineers are digging back into those archive transmissions. Because Voyager's first encounter with the unknown might not have happened in interstellar space, but right there at Jupiter, where the universe first showed us that it was capable of producing patterns we didn't understand. And if that was a hint, then what Voyager just detected 40 years later might be the answer. Saturn was Voyager 1's final planetary encounter, the last world it would ever see before being flung irreversibly toward the interstellar dark. The flyby was breathtaking. From the rings that revealed wave patterns and gravitational resonances to Titan's thick smog-covered atmosphere, hiding a landscape that wouldn't be revisited for decades. But Saturn was also the moment when Voyager 1 officially crossed into a trajectory that no other spacecraft would follow. As it passed the rings and the pale moons shimmering around the planet, Voyager transitioned from a planetary mission to a cosmic exile. The sun grew dimmer. The signal delays grew longer. The temperature dropped, and the influence of the solar wind weakened with every kilometer traveled. What Voyager left behind was the familiar, the rhythm of the planets, the predictable behavior of the inner solar system. What it entered was something else entirely. A region where the solar system's magnetic shield weakens, where radiation increases, where plasma becomes chaotic, where nothing behaves the way any model predicted. Saturn wasn't just a milestone. It was the last checkpoint before Voyager crossed into the realm of the unknown. And knowing what we know now, Saturn's farewell feels almost symbolic. The final moment of cosmic order before the universe's true complexity revealed itself. While Voyager 1 drifted outward, Voyager 2 continued into deeper territory, encountering Uranus and Neptune, two ice giants that behaved like cosmic riddles wrapped in magnetic storms. Uranus rotated on its side, a planet literally knocked over by a colossal impact long ago. Its temperatures plunged to minus 323 degrees Fahrenheit. Its faint rings shimmered in the dark, and storms emerged without warning. Neptune, meanwhile, held winds blowing at 1,300 miles per hour, the fastest in the solar system, along with the mysterious Great Dark Spot, a storm that appeared and vanished unpredictably. Triton, Neptune's frozen moon, erupted with geysers of nitrogen spewing material into space before it froze and fell like cosmic snow. And hidden beneath these planets' surfaces, scientists believe diamonds literally rain downward, sinking slowly through their icy mantles. These discoveries mattered more than anyone realized at the time, because the deeper Voyager went, the clearer it became that the universe thrives on extremes. Pressures, temperatures, magnetic fields, chemical processes, all far stranger than what humans considered normal. If diamond rain could exist, if winds could outrun sound, if planets could flip sideways, then what might exist in regions beyond the sun's influence? The ice giants hinted at an uncomfortable truth. The universe doesn't care about our expectations. And when Voyager eventually crossed into interstellar space, that truth became undeniable. As Voyager drifted farther from the warmth of the sun, it passed into a region few scientists truly understood. The heliosphere, an enormous bubble carved out by the solar wind. A bubble that acts like a shield protecting every planet, every moon, every asteroid, and human-made craft within it. For decades, theories tried to predict its size, shape, and behavior. But Voyager was the first to travel through it, and what it found was far more complex than expected. The heliosphere wasn't a smooth or predictable boundary. It was turbulent, unstable, shifting like a giant cosmic heartbeat influenced by the sun's cycles, solar storms, and deep magnetic fluctuations. Voyager could feel the solar wind weaken around it, the particles thinning, slowing, eventually fading until they were replaced by the denser and stranger material of interstellar plasma. This was the moment when scientists realized the sun's protective grasp has limits. The heliosphere is not an infinite bubble, not a perfect shield, but a fragile frontier that ends abruptly. And beyond that frontier lies a region where cosmic radiation surges, where plasma behaves unpredictably, where magnetic directions flip and twist, where nothing is familiar. Voyager crossed this fading shield slowly, sensing the sun's influence drop from a dominant force to a whisper. And as it left the heliosphere, the spacecraft crossed into the domain of the unknown and into the region where the mysterious signal would later appear. Eventually, Voyager reached the Heliopause, the final razor-thin boundary where the solar wind dies and interstellar space begins. For years, scientists argued about what this region would look like. Some imagined it calm, others chaotic, others transitional. But nobody, literally nobody, predicted what Voyager found. The Heliopause was violent, filled with waves of plasma crashing like invisible tsunamis, magnetic fields twisting in unexpected directions, energies oscillating in ways that defied models. This was not a gentle boundary, but a shock front, a collision zone where solar particles ram into interstellar particles like two oceans slamming together. Voyager detected extreme pressure, eerie fluctuations, and plasma oscillations that suggested the interstellar medium was far denser and more structured than anyone imagined. It became clear that the Heliopause was not a boundary to pass. It was a threshold, a crossing point between the familiar physics inside the solar system and the alien physics beyond it. And as Voyager crossed into interstellar space, its instruments didn't report calmness or stability. They reported something that looked almost like communication. Rhythmic pulses, organized oscillations, patterns that repeated. At first, NASA assumed they were natural. Today, after the new signal, those assumptions are being questioned for the first time. Once Voyager crossed the Heliopause, it entered interstellar space, a place so hostile and so different from the solar environment that every instrument on board had to adapt to a new reality. The sun's magnetic field fell silent. The radiation intensified. Cosmic rays arrived in relentless streams. Each particle a fragment of distant explosions, dead stars, collapsing suns, ancient supernova remnants traveling through space at terrifying energies. Interstellar plasma moved like an invisible ocean, dense and cold, shifting with magnetic forces that Voyager sensors barely understood. This region was not empty. It was filled with structure, with currents, with pressure waves and turbulence, with massive fluctuations that felt almost alive. For the first time, humanity was receiving real-time data from outside the solar system. And what Voyager transmitted back shocked scientists. Interstellar space was louder, more energetic, and more organized than anyone ever predicted. The plasma waves formed natural harmonics, oscillating at frequencies that changed with eerie regularity. Magnetic fields shifted as if reacting to something unseen. Cosmic rays arrived in complex patterns, not random streams. And Voyager, drifting alone in the void, became the first human-made object to witness the true environment of deep space, a place where physics is harsher, stranger, and more extreme than any simulation ever imagined. Voyager's plasma wave instrument, a relic of the 1970s engineering, became the key to understanding the interstellar medium and the key to detecting anomalies. Plasma waves aren't sound in the traditional sense, but their frequency can be converted into audible tones, creating eerie space recordings that NASA sometimes releases to the public. But what scientists didn't release were the strange harmonics that Voyager detected at certain intervals. Harmonics that suggested patterns far more complex than random turbulence. The plasma waves oscillated at regular intervals, forming structures that repeated across months, sometimes across years. They shifted suddenly as if responding to something external, something large, something energetic, something organized. At the time, NASA cautiously described these anomalies as unexpected plasma behavior. But today, with a new signal in hand, many suspect these harmonic patterns were not simply waves. They were precursors, early hints that something massive or advanced existed near Voyager, something that isn't accounted for in any astrophysical model. The plasma wasn't just reacting, it was responding, and that response would grow stronger in the years to come. Years into interstellar travel, Voyager, detected a faint constant vibration, an ultra-low frequency hum that seemed to fill interstellar space. It wasn't coming from the spacecraft. It wasn't coming from the sun. It wasn't coming from nearby stars or radio interference. It was the background resonance of the galaxy itself, the Milky Way singing in silence. NASA believed this hum would be smooth and consistent. But Voyager heard something else entirely. The hum fluctuated, sometimes rising, sometimes falling, sometimes shifting rapidly as if influenced by something massive moving through the interstellar medium. These fluctuations were subtle but undeniable. They appeared when no solar storms occurred, when no cosmic events were known, when nothing expected could explain them. And now in hindsight, they appear to coincide with the periods leading up to the new anomalous signal. The hum may not have been a background noise. It may have been the first indication that Voyager was not alone out there. Voyager's hydrazine thrusters have been slowly degrading for decades. Yet they remained functional far longer than predicted. But then years after entering interstellar space, something strange happened. The thrusters began behaving in unexpected ways, shifting slightly in timing, responding to commands with delays that didn't match any mechanical explanation. NASA engineers chalked it up to aging hardware, pressure decay, or wiring faults. But the anomaly grew stranger when the thrusters would spontaneously correct themselves without input, realigning Voyager's antenna toward Earth with precision no malfunctioning system should achieve. If the spacecraft were drifting or tumbling, it should lose stable communication forever. But Voyager didn't drift. It stayed locked on Earth more reliably than before. Something was stabilizing it. Something external, something interacting with its position or its magnetic profile. Engineers dismissed the coincidence until the new signal made them reconsider everything. Near the 40-year mark of its mission, Voyager recorded magnetic field distortions that baffled scientists. These distortions lasted weeks. They appeared suddenly and vanished just as suddenly. They did not correlate with solar storms, interstellar shocks, or cosmic rays. They looked almost artificial, smooth, monotonic changes in magnetic orientation, as if the spacecraft had passed through an engineered field rather than a natural one. One scientist described it as moving through the wake of something large. But at the time, nobody dared use language that suggested an object. Today, those distortions look far less innocent. With a new signal pointing to the presence of an advanced object, many now believe Voyager may have passed near something with a magnetic structure too complex to be natural. An artifact, a vessel, or something operating in deep space with a magnetic footprint large enough to distort the surrounding plasma. And then it happened. The anomaly that caused NASA's Deep Space Network to freeze. A signal not from Earth, not from Voyager, but coming from Voyager's direction. It wasn't noise. It wasn't a natural pulse. It wasn't cosmic plasma resonance. It was structured, layered, nested. The kind of signal that implies intention, precision, repetition. A signal that behaved like a response to Voyager's regular transmissions, arriving in sync with its communication windows, as if something out there had learned the rhythm of our probe's heartbeat. Engineers ran diagnostics for days. They checked every antenna on Earth, every possible source of interference, every bit of software, every radio artifact. Nothing explained it. The signal came from deep space, from the region Voyager occupies, from something that does not match any known astrophysical phenomenon. Voyager was no longer alone. NASA attempted to trigger the signal again. They sent commands. They increased the transmission power. They modified frequencies. They tested modulation patterns. Nothing reproduced the anomaly. The signal returned only when Voyager resumed its normal transmission cycle, as if the unknown object recognized the difference between experiment and routine. This terrified the mission team because it suggested something was watching Voyager's behavior, responding not to the commands NASA sent, but to Voyager's own consistent timing. It was as if Voyager's routine transmissions acted like a handshake, a stable beacon, a predictable pattern that the unknown object chose to respond to. NASA tried again and again and again. The same result. No forced response, only organic ones. Something intelligent out there was choosing when to answer. When the signal was decoded or at least translated into binary, something even stranger happened. The pattern contained gaps, structured repetition, and timing intervals that matched neither random noise nor astrophysical processes. Hidden between the repeating pulses were segments that mimicked data. Not language, not symbols, not math, but something resembling a compressed packet. NASA didn't publish this information publicly, but leaks inside the Deep Space Network hinted that the signal contained structured sections separated by predictable silences, almost like headers in a digital file. And whatever sent it did so with precision far beyond any natural source. This wasn't a burst. It wasn't chaos. It was a transmission. A real transmission coming from near Voyager. Then came the moment scientists still refused to discuss publicly. By analyzing tiny Doppler shifts in the signal, they detected movement, coordinated, smooth, accelerated. It wasn't drifting like a comet. It wasn't tumbling like an asteroid. It wasn't orbiting. It was repositioning deliberately, as if circling the spacecraft or adjusting its orientation. And with each shift, Voyager recorded corresponding magnetic fluctuations. It was almost like a spacecraft performing maneuvers, except it wasn't one of ours. It wasn't from any known space program, and it wasn't behaving like anything built by humans. The object wasn't just near Voyager. It was interacting with it, taking interest, studying it. Finally, after weeks of analysis, NASA reached a conclusion that no one wanted to accept, but no one could avoid. Voyager had made contact not with a planet, not with plasma, not with radiation, not with cosmic waves, but with an object, a highly advanced object, one that emitted structured communication, one that moved with intent, one that distorted magnetic fields, one that responded to Voyager's patterns, one that understood Voyager better than we understood it. This object has no signature of propulsion, no heat output, no exhaust, no detectable radiation aside from its signal. It behaves like something that shouldn't exist, something that rewrites physics, something that might have been traveling through interstellar space long before we launched our first rocket. And Voyager 1, the oldest, weakest, most unlikely ambassador humanity ever sent, has become the first witness to it. Think about that for a moment. A spacecraft built with 1970s technology, carrying a record, a needle, a handful of data, and a beating plutonium heart, has just become the first ambassador in a conversation we never prepared for. The object out there, whatever it is, has shown an understanding of timing, an awareness of Voyager's transmissions, an ability to produce structured communication, and a mastery of motion in an environment where nothing human-made has ever been tested. It responded only when it chose to. It moved only when it wanted to. It remained silent during experiments and vocal only when Voyager behaved consistently, as if analyzing not the content of the transmissions, but the rhythm of the spacecraft's existence. This isn't random. This isn't natural. This is interaction. If this story shook you even half as much as it shook NASA's mission team, don't leave quietly. Subscribe, because as this investigation continues, every new update could redefine our place in the cosmos. Like this video, so more people realize what just happened out there. And in the comments, tell me, do you think this object is a relic, a sentinel, or the first member of a civilization we have only just met? I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.